Hello and welcome to Practical Alchemy. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. So I'm going to look into the energy of Chiron and Aries for this podcast, and this is going to be a collective reading. So thank you for joining me for this. If you caught my last reading, I was talking about Uranus conjunct with the moon and the full moon energy. What I'm seeing here is the death of a problem. I've done a 9-card spread for this Chiron in Aries energy, and at the moment Chiron is opposing Venus. Chiron in Aries opposing Venus in Libra, because what I have is running away from something. People often, myself included, run away from things that we don't really want to acknowledge or deal with, or don't have time. It's too time consuming, it's too deep, it's too whatever. There's a lot of different reasons that we create so that we don't have to go through that kind of a death process of part of the personality that's not really us. And so the death card is right in the middle of this reading. And on top of that, I have the Page of Cups. And underneath the death card, I have the Three of Wands. It's showing me this idea of I don't really want to look at that elephant in the room inside my personality, because I don't have the time. I'm focused on other things. I don't know how to do it. Can we just skip that? Move past that kind of awkwardness. It's interesting because I have the Seven of Swords here next to the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is a Pisces card, and it's connected in with the story of Jesus Christ. Not to get religious or anything, but it is a symbolic card for that kind of self-sacrificing energy. But it's kind of next to the Seven of Swords, which is telling me that there is a traitorous kind of energy close to that, which reminds me of the old biblical story of betraying Jesus. So let's just look at it in a symbolic way. So what I'm seeing here is a betrayal to the self. It's telling me that the precision with this transformation is the most important thing about it. So it's not about going through some big, massive, life-altering transformation over the next 2 weeks. It's about precision of what might need to be sacrificed. That is something that is not true to who you are, something you may have been avoiding. What is going to help this, though, is friendships. So I want to look at what is in Aquarius, because I have the Nine of Swords clarified by the Friendship card, and I want to look at Uranus as well, and this full moon energy, because what I see here is Mercury as the Magician, which is clarifying the death card, this transformation and change over the next 2 weeks. That is, I don't feel massive, it's just precise. And that is Mercury, who is facilitating that kind of change. And Mercury is basically in an aspect with Ceres. And that aspect is actually a trine. If we're in the right mindset, we can harness that energy with Mercury, trine with Ceres, to bring in the Three of Wands and the Eight of Cups. And this has to do with friendships, which may be new, they may be old, but these friendships will help the doubting energy, which is going on with Mercury squaring Pluto. The trick here is to move away from people who are not supportive of these changes that you are making, even on a subtle level. So this is telling me that Ceres is on the verge of the unknown, because I have into the unknown, and I also have the flying card, and I have details. So let me look into this, do some digging with this energy. 29 degrees of Aquarius. She's about to go into the unknown, and it is to get some kind of clarity from a much higher perspective. So when it was trying to tell me that these friendships will be supportive, that is exactly what is coming through here with when I looked up Ceres. What is Ceres in Aquarius? Most of you know I'm teaching myself astrology using divination. And Ceres in Aquarius are, it's the nurturing of others by supporting their individuality and uniqueness. But friends who are basically supporting you, your uniqueness, and not basically putting you down for any changes that you go through. So it's like we're going through this moment, we're having this moment of things that we might just want to totally quietly just leave behind about our own personality, and things that don't really do us any favors, things that have kind of held us back in some ways, and the whole process of that. And because it's showing me or pointing that energy out of Ceres Trine with Mercury, that it's like the more precise that we are with our changes to ourselves, and it's not like we have to go and tell all of our friends and the whole world and all of these changes that we're going to be making, or even if it's just one thing. Like I said, I don't feel like it's this big transformational process. It inevitably will come up to the surface in some way or another in a relationship of some kind, specifically friendships. And you might be worried about how it will come across, or how any changes that you make to your life and to yourself are going to affect your friendships. I feel like it's saying to release that anxiety, because I know that I have a lot of listeners that are in the US at the moment, and I feel like even people would be anxious about, what's going on over there right now, and even talking about it to their friends, because you can't even tell who is voting for who, and it's just so ridiculously judgmental politically. So it's saying don't be anxious, because if someone has some kind of strong judgment against you for that reason, you're better off without them. Interesting symbol as well, 29 degrees of Aquarius, in relation to what I'm talking about here with friendships, because it talks about, the symbol itself is a moonlit field. Once Babylon are blooming white, moonlit fields that were once Babylon, blooming white. So this is a symbol of some kind of great civilization that was once something magnificent and great, and the symbol is taking the seeds from the past and making even greater achievements. It also talks about feeling that you're in the right place at the right time, and your best qualities are recognized and appreciated when you are following your true path. You are able to rely on the support of the universe. But I'm going to replace the word universe with the support of friends in its flow. So you are able to rely on the support of friends with this trine and the degree that it's on. Seeds of the past becoming the fruits of the present. I personally feel that people are meeting up because they're following their true path. They're being more authentic in their own, expressing their own beliefs, and they're not trying to be anything other than who they are, and not trying to be politically correct, but also still having a respect for other people. That when we gather these kinds of friendships that are supportive, and we start meeting more of these types of people, I'll go with you into the unknown. I'm doing the same thing, and I'm gaining more clarity about my own personal pathway, and they are supportive. You're supportive. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. So this could be, with relationships on a love level, but I'm feeling particularly that this is talking about friendships. That I think that the next 2 weeks are going to be possibly sacrificing some friendships that are not supportive, judgmental friends, or people who are caught up in the political frenzy of a divide. It's like a divide of basing your identity on what you politically believe in or think. So it's going to be an interesting time over the next 2 weeks, but it is, leading into a very significant new moon energy, which I cannot wait to do a reading on. The supportive relationships that are forming are helpful to see the maze ahead of us. It's kind of interesting when you take a separated perspective of society, when you're kind of doing your own soul work and your own contemplation, and specifically about this Chiron Aries energy. It's almost like denial of wounds, denial that there's anything wrong, because this reading started with the World, the Page of Cups, and the Hermit. So this is energy from energy that we're coming from as a collective. So we stepped into a world as Pages of Cups, innocence, naivety. And what happens in that innocence and naivety? A lot of things. And the Hermit is shining his light on this Page of Cups. Because when we were kids, we were pure. We had purity about us. We had innocence. Things were enchanting. We were developing our intellect. There was a spark in the soul, in the body, in the mind. And this is something that really wants to come to the surface again. It's buried under this Seven of Swords energy of, I don't want to look at what has been blocking me from seeing the details, but it's saying that Ceres trine with Mercury is going to help with this somehow. So Mercury is a fast-moving planet, and it's at 20 degrees of Libra. It's in retrograde at the moment. Maybe some contemplation going on at the moment. Like I said, we're having a moment. Before we launch into some really positive friendships and productivity with other people, we need the detail about something about ourselves first. And then we can fly with, the new collective that we form with new friendships and groups. Don't be scared of being judged, because that's going to give more clarity on whether you need someone in your life that's going to judge you for following your compass. So what the precision vision is about is looking at the details of that inner spark that was alive when we were in a pure and naive state of mind a long time ago, when we entered this world, beginning stages of life. We grow into adults with very set ideas and mindsets, and it's showing me that the world that we've been born into is it's a harsh world, a world that robs us in a way, and we have to kind of go through a transformation to find ourselves and bring that spark to life without fear. So I've just found this from a website called rosemarcus.com, and because I'm not an astrologer, I don't claim to be an astrologer. I am an intuitive reader. I read energy and I research things when they're relevant. And I found this on rosemarcus.com talking about Ceres. And it's the place in our natal chart that represents a matrix from which we will create a personal identity and relationship prototype. Relationship prototypes. Our ability to bond, to trust, to be self-expressive, to feel safe enough to openly share our heart, to feel nourished, and to nurture is seen within the Ceres chart signature. And Pluto correlates to the soul's desires and needs regarding its ongoing evolution. Ceres searches within this bigger picture to retrieve, reclaim, revive, and rebirth a most precious commodity, that which is of utmost value to the self and to the soul. This precious commodity is typically mined through a significant relationship karmic reconnect. This death card that it's showing me here with the Magician, clarifying it with the Sun energy, is definitely like a process of getting really specific. The Magician needs a specific instrument, a specific tool, Mercury, to clear away something that has been making us emotionally detached, our fear of intimately bonding, our fear of being fully seen. A child that has had its spark dimmed, basically, and that basically leading into not being able to bond fully within relationships. So we have all these unhealthy relationships going on in the world, and a lack of nurturing each other. So fear destroys relationships that are otherwise heavenly or full of ecstasy, particularly when you have people who are complete opposites. And the power in overcoming those differences and fears, I think, is where we're headed in relationships, so that opposite energies can create a lot of magical and positive things for the world. It will be the evolution of how we bond with each other through seeing our differences and not being fearful of being judged. Some of us don't have that problem and don't really care about what friends and family think and what their opinion is. But there are a lot of people in the world who do care about those things. They have strong belief systems that if my family doesn't like you, it's not going to work. Or if my friends don't accept you, it's not going to work. All of these conditions on something that is otherwise a really beautiful connection. And I think that's, with Gemini North Node, it's going to test a lot of relationships. It's just a hunch, but I think it's going to test a lot of people. Are they going to stand on their own with their own opinions and stand up for their relationships and follow their own dreams, their own ecstasy, their own compass? Or are they going to listen to others or be in fear of judgment? Or pursue the feeling of being accepted by their social community rather than doing their own thing? So it's telling me the idea here with this Chiron Aries is to remember and see the beauty of the innocent child, the innocent spirit, the enchanted intellect that once was, and bring it back to life through a transformation that I don't think is massive. I think it's just about seeing the details, being prepared to go into an unknown time period in life and sacrificing a few things that you may be attached to on a material level or some sort of level. And it's kind of taking me back to that sadness energy that I felt with the mother. And it's interesting because the mythology with Ceres is about her being the goddess of grain and crops. And she had a daughter, Persephone. And Persephone was abducted, as a lot of you know the mythology. Persephone abducted into the underworld. It's like this separation energy within ourselves. And there's a mourning about that separation of innocence. But we're in a time where we can rebirth this spark and this purity of intellect through the energy of encouragement. It's through the energy of encouragement, which is a nurturing energy. So the Ceres Trine thing that's going on with Mercury is positive conversations, positive friendships, looking back at things also that are maybe the way that we talked to people or the way that we were in relationships and how it wasn't very nurturing of the relationship at all. And so it's an opportunity to really get into the detail and see it from a bird's eye view as these new friendships form. It's like it shows you how you naturally communicate when this pure spark is supported. When the pure spark is brought back to life through the gathering of supportive people and encouragement, through the energy of encouragement and nurturing. We then see where we didn't nurture relationships in the past. And on a deep level, we were just mourning for that inner child. So what is coming in with this Three of Wands? Because this is the outcome, the Three of Wands and the Eight of Cups. The listening card again, and commitment. So this puts us into an energy of new commitments or recommitting in relationships, new or recommitting to relationships and friendships where listening is like a valued thing. Listening is a enjoyable thing. Like, being with people who want to hear what you have to say. They want to hear your feelings. They don't want to shut you off and not deal with how you feel, because that means they have to deal with how they feel, and then that sort of like cycle goes on and on. This is genuine commitment of human emotional investment in bonding. But before we get to that kind of energy, it's kind of taking us through this, having a moment of sacrificing some things, cutting some things off that are needing to be removed precisely. So Vesta's there in Virgo, opposite Ceres, and that energy is going to be there doing the work, being dedicated, being committed to these new friendships, or recommitting to relationships where it is supportive and it's nurturing. Also, it's in a trine aspect with Uranus, so a harmonious relationship with this full moon energy. What I'm feeling here is that there is a collaboration with goddess. It's collaboration of goddess energy, or in other words, the more sensitive side, the creative, more ethereal side of ourselves, collaborating with the magician archetype. Our emotional side in a productive movement with our ability to manifest. So that's why we need the precise kinds of tools to be able to have this moment to ourselves and see what we need to see. Maybe just as simple as acknowledging something about a past situation, a past relationship, and seeing where we were not nurturing of that relationship through the things that we were talking about or saying in that relationship, the way that we betrayed ourselves. And then it goes back to like taking responsibility. So there's a collaboration with our inner ethereal side and the magician archetype, which is I feel it goes back to this collaboration energy with Jupiter and Neptune. So I'll pull a few oracle cards on that message of this collaboration of Jupiter and Neptune, because I see that there's transformation. Pluto is involved here with all of this. So we're going through this now. So I have magic stream, clarity, and contemplation. We realize that we only betray ourselves when we are in relationships and we don't nurture the relationship, and we place expectations and judgments and all kinds of things on the other person, we betray ourselves, because we are betraying the innocence of the purity of that spark. So it came up in one of the other readings that Chiron is basically directing all of this healing, and that Neptune and Jupiter are providing the magic stream that we can drink from, and that Ceres is basically in this harmonious aspect with Mercury at the moment. Because Mercury is fast, I feel like it's a temporary thing. It's like only a few days where we can kind of tap into a really nurturing energy and reflect on where we may need to cut something off, cut something away, be really precise in what needs to go about our behavior or our personality. It's not part of us, and it came from a wound of being born into a world that's full of dimming people's authenticity and their individuality. Because once the intellect was enchanted by differences, and as people evolve, they get into habits of injuring other people through judgment. And we betray ourselves by being by not nurturing relationships, and underneath it all is just mourning for that nurturing energy. And what's taking place as we move into the new moon energy from this full moon energy is that we can see more and more detail as we move into an unknown future, and more detail about ourselves, I should say, as we move forward into an unknown future and we collaborate. And that's basically the collaboration with Neptune and Jupiter, that magician energy. I think that, as we evolve and we move, collective moves into new milestones, and things happen in life and opinions change, we place judgment on people for so many different things, and it's like, I've done this myself. I've placed judgment on people that are materialistic and capitalistic, and they just place so much importance on the way they live or look and what they have. So that's something that is specific about myself that isn't really me. I wasn't born with that kind of a judgment. It came from somewhere. We have to look at those kinds of things, and I don't think it's like a huge, deep, transformative thing that's going to happen over the next 2 weeks. It's just like contemplation and noticing these little things. It's interesting because Neptune and Jupiter are creating this like stream of energy, and what is in that stream of energy is Ceres and Pluto and Saturn. I also think that relationships will re-spark. People will start to remember how beautiful it was, how sweet it was. And there might be some change in opinion. And I think some people might recommit, because there is like this together we're stronger kind of energy that I'm feeling in this. So let's see if there's anything else before I finish this reading for this Chiron and Aries energy. Yes, so there will be choices made. People will be making choices whether they want to be staying in that kind of self-betrayal and deceptive mode, and not flow in that stream of love and magic of relationships and purity, or they will keep up this false kind of facade or perception of themselves, for the sake of their religion, for the sake of their friends, family, whatever it is, even themselves, because that Mars energy is squaring the Pluto and Jupiter, squaring the death and transformation and magician, trying to get around something. Could also be people trying to get around some obstacles as well right now, to nurture a relationship, to invest in it again. What would be the obstacle with that? Page of Swords, the Fool, and the Four of Pentacles. So it'll be the communication, the how to even begin. When people say that, where should I even start? That kind of thing. Because the Page of Swords, the Fool, the Four of Pentacles, this is an excited energy, excitement of a new beginning, but also not wanting to make any mistakes. Thinking of ways to expand the opportunity. It comes back to nurturing and encouragement of the freedom of being yourself, nurturing the bond in that way. And this goes for all kinds of relationships, friendships, workplace relationships, all relationships. I think that is the obstacle of healing them, if there's a relationship that you want to heal. But also I feel like it's a time of attracting strong friendships. Also with Mercury in Libra, there's some looking at your pathways. So I think I'm going to leave it there. I hope this was helpful or enlightening, and thank you for listening to this reading. If you want to check out my Facebook page, it's ES Divination. My website link will be in this channel description, and if you'd like to have a personal reading with me, my information is on my website. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time.